What's going on, Sooner Nation? We finally did it. The Oklahoma Sooners get another commitment in the 26 recruiting cycle, which it feels like it's been forever since Tyler Ruxer committed. But we're finally here. Oklahoma lands an elite defensive end, and Oklahoma needed a win like this. And I definitely think the month of August could shape up to be a really good month for Oklahoma. And then going into September, this is where I think the Sooners have the best chance to position themselves to potentially flip quite a few targets on the recruiting trail. So, if you're an Oklahoma fan and you've been worried about the 2026 recruiting cycle so far, I don't think you need to be worried just yet. I know there's a lot of criticism out there for Nagy and the words that he's put out there and how it enables other schools to easily go out there and beat us on the recruiting trail. But I'm telling you, actions speak louder for words. And when Oklahoma wins football games, you're going to see some of these guys potentially give Oklahoma one more look before they get to early National Signing Day. But before we dive into it, as always, join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are about the Oklahoma's recent commitment. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and hit that subscribe button so that you're not missing out on any of this content. You can always be brought up to speed and the latest of what's going on with Oklahoma football. All right, so Jake Kru has committed to the Oklahoma Sooners, and this is one where if you're an Oklahoma fan, you've been following the 26 recruiting cycle, you've been waiting for this one, and you've been crossing your fingers hoping that this one would land this way because this is one where it has felt like Oklahoma has trended well for almost the entire recruitment. Jake Kru is a 6'3", 230-pound edge rusher out of IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. He's the 61st overall player according to the 247 rankings, and the 63rd overall player according to the 247 composite rankings. Now, when you watch Jake Kru's film, one thing you really notice here is how quick he is off that line of scrimmage and how he's really able to use a lot of power to shift and move past those offensive linemen and get to the ball carrier or the quarterback. So Jake Kru and this defense, I think he's a match made in heaven. And you understand why Miguel Chavis and Brent Venables really pushed so hard for Jake Kru in this class. He just fits. And I believe that was kind of what everybody else is saying too, right? It's just there probably wasn't a better fit in the country for Jake Kru than Oklahoma. Now, this came down between Oklahoma, Texas, and Ole Miss. Ole Miss, though, felt like the odd third horse in the race. It really was Oklahoma and Texas down the stretch. And Texas gave Oklahoma a run for their money. You guys were a little worried there for a second that Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns might overcome Oklahoma here. But at the end of the day, Miguel Chavis and the Sooners are able to fend him off. Now, this is all to say, if Oklahoma does not go out there and have a good season, or let's say you're 3-2 going into the Texas game and, you lose to Texas, now you're 3-3. That could change Jake Kru's heart. So you still have to win football games, and you still have to show Jake Kru that this is the right school for him and you are the right coaching staff for him. Because just like Jake Kru and so many others, the thing that is being recruited against Oklahoma is the idea that Brent Venables will not be here long term. So the only way to squash that theory and squash those rumors is to go out there and win 9 or 10 games this season and show these recruits that everything that you've been told, it's just simply not true. Now, kind of looking at some of Jake Kru's verified results. So hand size, 10 inches, wingspan of 78.8 inches, 40-yard dash of 5.25, but that was in 23. I have a feeling that he's probably a little bit better than that now. Shuttle time of 478 and a broad jump of 9.2 feet. So okay results. You definitely want that 40-yard dash time to definitely be probably in the 4.75 range as an edge rusher. But I mean, again, you see the explosiveness in the film, and I don't think the verified results speak to the athleticism of Jake Kru. Now, looking at the scouting report, Andrew Ivins had this to say about Jake Kru. Polished pass rusher that can win early or late in his technique and hustle. He might not blow you away off the hoof with his build, but great game tape paints a different picture as he dips and rips and swipes his way through and around obstacles. So, looking at this commitment for Oklahoma, Jake Kru is going to move Oklahoma up to I think it was the number 29th class in the country, moving Oklahoma up from 41, giving them a 219.38 composite score, giving them 16 total commits. So Oklahoma's got 16. You've got a couple left on the board which we'll talk about that here in a second because I definitely think we need to get to what's next for Oklahoma on the recruiting trail. But to wrap it up with Jake Kru, what you're getting in Jake Kru, you're getting a guy that knows how to get to the quarterback. You're getting a guy that is highly productive. When you look at his 2024 junior season, 39 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 11 QB hurries, 6 sacks in just 9 games. Helped IMG Academy post a 7-2 record while playing a national schedule, limiting opponents to 14.3 points per game. And you remember, whenever we talk about defensive linemen, defensive ends, one of the things I always talk about is one of the most important stats that not a lot of people pay attention to is the QB hurry number. How often are you creating pressure for the quarterback, causing him to get out of the pocket, which, could lead to a multitude of different things on the defense. So Jake Kru, Oklahoma Sooner, jump in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. But what's going on with Oklahoma on the recruiting trail now that you've landed probably what was your biggest recruit on your board so far? Well, obviously, like I said, I think Oklahoma is going to try to go out there and flip quite a few targets. But to finish on the defensive line, I think Teron Richardson's where we're at. So obviously, I think maybe if Oklahoma goes out there and just has this great almighty season and Notre Dame falls back a little bit, maybe you could try to push for Elijah Golden again. I just don't think it's likely at this point. But Teron Richardson, 6'2.5", 295 pounds, out of Hopewell, Virginia. He is going to be making his decision on August 26th. That came down between Syracuse, Maryland, Penn State, Virginia Tech, and Oklahoma. Now, here's my deal. I felt like that Oklahoma, if they landed Elijah Golden, probably wasn't going to be too heavy in the running for Teron Richardson. But now that you don't have Elijah Golden, you really need to take at least 3 defensive linemen. You only have 1 so far. So I definitely think Oklahoma is going to push for Teron Richardson. It's a guy that they want. It's a guy that they can see in this scheme that fits what Oklahoma wants to do. And I just believe they're going to put the full court press on here now. So based off knowing that, based off knowing what I know about the recruitment and Teron Richardson's relationship with Todd Bates and the staff, I definitely think Oklahoma can win this one right now. And August 26th, that'll get here right before the season and give Oklahoma fans something to get excited about before you go out there and play Illinois State. So keep your eyes peeled on that one, Teron Richardson, August 26th. But what about wide receiver? Because this has probably been one of the worst cycles at wide receiver for Oklahoma in a long time. And last year you had a chance to take 2 additional guys and they just kind of walked. You let them walk, right? Because you decided you didn't want them. But now kind of look at the position, you're going to have natural attrition this offseason. Yeah, you can go hit the portal, but you definitely want to create a foundation through the recruiting trail as well. And Oklahoma certainly doesn't have that right now. So when you look at wide receivers, not a lot of guys left on the board outside of maybe flip targets. And the first one that's probably going to come to mind is Braden Allen. We haven't talked about this guy, but we're going to make a video later this week breaking down that offer that Oklahoma threw out to him. Coming in at 6'1", 170 pounds, got right now committed to Tulane, but this is a guy that I think Oklahoma can go out there and flip. Braden Allen, Emma Jones, good relationship there. Emma Jones has been quietly working in the background. He's got a total of 14 total offers, most notably Colorado, who is also trying to flip him from Tulane. But this is a recruitment that, if Oklahoma really, really wants him, I think they should be able to get him. He finished his junior year with 55 receptions for 1,155 yards, 10 touchdowns, averaging 21 yards per catch. He also got a couple snaps on defense and special teams. So definitely see why Oklahoma could want a guy like this. Then I also look at maybe some targets that Oklahoma was in on that have committed to other places, like maybe a Jaden Pettit, who is out there at Wisconsin, or you look at maybe a guy like Jaden Warren out there at Houston, Aljor Miles at SMU, Jordan Clay at Baylor. These are all guys where I can see Oklahoma circling back and around, kicking the tires during the season, trying to flip them after, hey, maybe you're 6-0 after you beat Texas and maybe 7-0 after you beat South Carolina. I think at that point you would have a really easy time at flipping some targets, trying to get some guys back on board. So I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are about the recent commitment of Jake Kru. And, what's your thoughts about the 2026 recruiting class so far? Where do you want to see Oklahoma go next?